Can Spider-Man solve the Kira case? One of the world's biggest mysteries. The case consists of people randomly being killed off, Shin Megami's interfering with the human world, the police force not being able to crack a single clue, and all being tied together by a teenage boy named Light Yagami. So I asked again, could our spectacular Spider-Man solve this case? Alright, I know what some of you guys may be asking though. Spider-Man isn't a detective, so he couldn't do it. And to that, I say Spider-Man has solved mysteries multiple times before, as we've seen. Spider-Man is also one of the smartest characters in the Marvel Universe, stated to be on par with Reed Richards, and having an IQ above 250. At 15 years old, he engineered his own web shooters in his own bedroom that are able to withstand the weight of a human body. He made a time machine out of a blender, cured brand new diseases that even the best minds in the world couldn't, worked alongside the smartest minds in the Marvel Universe, as well as defeating Doc Ock and multiple prior villains who are just as intelligent as he is. So, I believe he is more than qualified to take on the task, and as well as wanted to. However, let's just recap what the Kira case is. The Kira case is the plot of Death Note. A supernatural notebook falls from the sky and lands into the hands of a Japanese student, Light Yagami. Writing down someone's name, as well as having a face tied to them, will kill any victim. Light Yagami begins using it, and it's revealed that the Shin Megami gave the notebook to Light, Ryuk. Light begins to use the notebook to kill criminals, but people begin to catch on, and the Japanese task force opens the Kira case. Of course, there's more rules and loopholes and all that, but that's a general idea. This video is specifically on Comic Spider-Man, the original version, Earth 616, against Light Yagami from the original Death Note manga. In this alternate universe, L also does not exist, and Spider-Man cannot get any help from any of the heroes. No Stark, no Fantastic Four, or S.H.I.E.L.D. The only people he can get help from are the police force and anyone without powers. Basically, imagine this like any Spider-Man games and movies. The Avengers are on vacation because it isn't that movie. So, here are the win conditions. If Spider-Man can convict Light of being Kira with evidence and imprison him, he wins. If Spider-Man cannot find any evidence but knows Light is Kira, he loses. If Light figures out Spider-Man's identity and writes his name in the Death Note, then yeah, he loses. Can't really imagine a dead man solving the case. Now before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let's start. Our story begins the same. Light Yagami is granted a notebook after school and goes home. He tests it on his first victim, Kuru Otahara. Yeah, you see it on screen. He is appalled that it works and uses it again on the second man that is harassing the woman. Light then fully believes in the Death Note's capabilities and begins writing a bunch of— oh my god, a lot of names! Okay, you can chill. Light states how he is justice and God, or whatever he is talking about, and targets criminals on a worldwide scale. And this in return would affect New York. Spider-Man's villains would most likely die in prison, causing Spider-Man to become suspicious immediately. Being heartbroken, Peter Parker would swear to find the culprit of this whole mystery and serve them justice. As Peter Parker starts investigating, the Japanese task force is already on it, as well as international police forces. Seeing that Spider-Man is the only supernatural hero at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if they partnered up with him. We've seen Spider-Man and the police work together at times, and others hate each other. It just depends on the storyline. But for this instance, let's say they put the differences aside and actually help each other out. This may not be what a lot of you guys imagine, but if Spider-Man is actually able to decipher this case, he's gonna need some form of help, considering that he lacks a lot of resources and this is international. I mean, he's broke, rent's due, and you can't exactly web swing to New York. So if we're talking Spider-Man solely alone, he cannot solve it.
This nigga is trash!
Moving forward, I think Spider-Man working with the police force and him having a lot more resources would help him detect that Kira is in Japan. It wouldn't be in any way like L did though, because of Spider-Man's moral compass. L is cold, calculated. He only focuses on the goal and will take whatever route it is to solve the case. We see this when L broadcasts Lynn L. Taylor to the Kanto region and uses him as bait for Kira. It did successfully work though. L takes a lot more risk with people involved, and Spider-Man just wouldn't do that as a character. He wouldn't put anyone in harm's way just to solve a case, so how would he detect that Light is in Japan? In Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5, Issue 1, Spider-Man uses his abilities to detect and recognize patterns as a way to figure out how to stop an alien invasion and where the portals are directly coming from. Peter was able to deduce this all by himself, while other characters such as Tony Stark were struggling to find a solution. As a result, with the resources provided by the police task force, I am confident that Spider-Man will be able to recognize a pattern of Kira's attacks. 1. How Kira only targets criminals. 2. How Kira's first numerous attacks started in Japan and then fallen on an international level. And 3. How Kira's victims are only those broadcasted online. He only kills those with public information on them. I don't believe he can crack down how Light kills them with the Death Note, but he can for sure reduce that Kira is in Japan. With this information, Spider-Man would convince the police force that Kira is in Japan, and Spider-Man would most likely travel there. However, unlike L, Spider-Man would not get concrete evidence, so for the time being, it would only be theory to him. This brings up another issue though. 1. If Spider-Man is spotted in Japan, or announces that he is going to find Kira, that puts a massive target on Light finding Spider-Man's identity. And 2. The language barrier. Let's deduce the latter. Peter Parker knows Mandarin, Spanish, and Italian. One of the smartest minds in Marvel, so I'm sure with enough prep time he can learn Japanese relatively quicker than the average person. Now, for Light finding out Spider-Man's identity, in the main continuity, the only people to find out Spider-Man's identity found out so from using superpowers like Daredevil. Daredevil realized Peter Parker is Spider-Man because they had the same heartbeat, or other times where a villain ripped off Spider-Man's mask. However, this is different though. Light Yagami is a genius. If he felt threatened, he would go after finding Spider-Man himself. The only possible connection would be Peter Parker taking pictures for the Daily Bugle. Light would take a random shot in the dark and write down Peter Parker's name, causing Spider-Man to die. However, this only happens if Spider-Man goes to Japan, not Peter Parker. If Peter Parker was just on the police task force investigating for Japan, I believe he would reduce Kira to a high school student, just based on the timing of his kills and with his prior knowledge of living a double life as a high schooler. Peter would then give this information to the police to help them reduce it even more. If Peter Parker and Light were to ever meet though, what would be the chances of Peter catching on that Light is Kira? For that, we implement a crucial aspect of Spider-Man's character, the Spider Sense. In numerous iterations, we've seen the Spider Sense sense someone's evil intention, or the Spider Sense telling a person what is going on, as we've seen in Across the Spider-Verse when it tells Gwen where Miles is. The abilities of the Spider Sense are extremely inconsistent, but I think it would nudge Peter into suspecting Light is Kira. However, if that doesn't happen, I find it extremely difficult that Peter would figure it out because he isn't a detective and doesn't have the social deduction skills as we've seen when the Green Goblin reveals his identity and Peter never suspected it. Spider-Man often likes to see the good in people and can't imagine them doing anything wrong. Overall, his biggest hindrance in his case is his moral compass. Light is also a master of psychological games. He lies, acts weak, and even erases his own memory just to get an edge over L. If Light were to try any of these tricks on Spider-Man, who doesn't suspect him, he is getting away scot-free. Now, if his Spider Sense goes off, he has a confirmation that Light is Kira. It is confirmed. However, word of mouth wouldn't get through. How would he prove that Light is Kira? He would need to gather any information he has on Light, and probably investigate his room as we've seen him do multiple times before. More than likely, he can find a notebook and be able to detach the fake lid successfully and be in possession of the Death Note. And if you want to say he can't reduce that, well, he has technology in his lens that'll be able to find anything suspicious in his room. Following this, he would give the evidence to the police and convict Light of being Kira. But this is only Light. There are still two factors at play, the Shimigamis and Misa. When Misa makes her announcement as Kira, L is able to quickly deduce that it's a second Kira, and I'm sure Spider-Man can do the same based off her killings. If he were to ever see her in costume, he wouldn't be affected by the Shimigami eyes. so she wouldn't be a threat to him, and she definitely isn't smart enough to figure out Spider-Man's identity. So I believe Spider-Man would be able to solve the Misa issue quite easily. Something more difficult though is Ryuk and Rem. Throughout the show, we see multiple times that whenever Light is in a corner, he relies on these Shin Megamis multiple times to question him. However, I'm more than positive if Peter were to ever meet Light and investigate him, he wouldn't make himself a target like L did. He would do it in secret, and even if he's on the Kira task force, he'd blend in while making quick claims, never to accuse anyone until he has the evidence. With this being said, Spider-Man once again would quickly be able to find out Light is cured in a Death Note, just off the fact that Light wouldn't suspect him. Overall, there are a lot of ways this can go, as I stated before. I believe Spider-Man can solve the case, but it would be extremely difficult, and not because of his smarts, but his moral compass. Spider-Man always tries his best to see the good in people, even his own villains, and Light is an emotional, cruel manipulator. His spider sense would have to confirm his suspicion on Light, and only then would he be able to solve it. If Light thought of Peter Parker or Spider-Man as a threat, he would quickly kill Peter and continue on with his day like nothing ever happened. Like I said, Spider-Man isn't a detective, and this case proves it, but with his spider sense and intelligence, I think he can win. The reason I chose Spider-Man and not someone like, let's say, Tony Stark is because if Stark were to go for this case, he is lying 100%. Just off the fact that he would announce that he was going to catch Kira. But Spider-Man would be much more careful in going about this, as we've seen in the Insomniac games. In conclusion, for real this time, I think Spider-Man has a 33.3% chance of solving the Kira case. 2 out of 3 times the odds are not in his favor. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.